Now to an update on a story we first told you about Monday morning.
The Confederate monument in Birmingham's Lynn Park is no longer standing. The removal comes after protests turned violent Sunday night and demonstrators attempted to remove the monument on their own.
The Attorney General filed a lawsuit against the city imposing a $25,000 fine, according to the state's Memorial Preservation Act. Birmingham's mayor has since said the city will now pay the fine.
Here in North Alabama, downtown Huntsville Incorporated called for the Confederate statue in front of the Madison County Courthouse to be removed and relocated.
Joining us now via Zoom is Attorney General Steve Marshall. General Marshall, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Oh, happy to be with you.
Now, General Marshall, we understand it's your job as the state's top officer to merely enforce this Memorial Preservation Act. Give us your thoughts, though, as the AG, on having to enforce a law that protects something that so many view as a symbol of hate.
Well, let's also reflect on the act itself. That act goes beyond what people deem to be Confederate monuments, but it goes to memorial schools, memorial buildings, as well as naming on other aspects of public buildings. And so it is a act that is developed to really preserve much of the history of this state, and it's much broader than what we're dealing with here specifically in Birmingham, as well as the issue in Huntsville.
Well, in the wake of these protests that we've been seeing, not only through Alabama but across the country, General, a number of them violent. And as you know, this week, President Trump told governors he wants them to dominate, as he threatened the Insurrection Act of 1807 against people protesting the death of George Floyd. So governors, as you know, can call up their own National Guardsmen. What are the legalities of a president calling up active duty military troops into cities and states?
Well, I can't speak to the legality of what the president's doing, but what we do know is that Governor Ivey has activated the National Guard here in the state, given cities and counties the opportunity to be able to request that assistance. I do know that the governor's office, along with ALEA, is working with local governments with the idea specifically to make sure that we're keeping communities safe, because we have seen clearly in Birmingham and other places where violent activity has been associated with those who claim to be peacefully protesting.
All right, General, so from a state standpoint then, what if the president invokes that Insurrection Act? What can governors do? Can they reject it?
That's not something I can speak to, not familiar specifically with the president's authority in that area. But what I do know is that Governor Ivey has proactively made the steps here in Alabama, and that we're prepared to respond to the request of local authorities when they need us.
Attorney General Marshall, all 4 Minnesota police officers involved in the killing of George Floyd have been charged now. These are new developments from this week. Derek Chauvin now faces a charge of second-degree murder. Would you do the same thing if that happened here in Alabama?
What I would do is follow the facts and the law. Any case is driven by what specifically is developed through the investigation. When we respond to that, regardless of whether or not it was a police officer or who it may be, I've been a prosecutor for 20 years. That's the way that I do my job, and I know that's the way others do it across the state as well.
And as you know, General, there are so many statutes in different states that mean so many different things. So we just found out that the state of Minnesota statute makes it legal to charge someone with third-degree murder with intent to injure and not intent to kill. So what do you have to prove to charge someone with murder here in Alabama?
You know, that's a very different statute than what we have here. You know, there are no degrees for murder here. Intentional murder would be either capital murder or murder itself. Reckless conduct resulting in the death of another would be manslaughter. And we also have criminally negligent homicide to be able to charge somebody that engages in criminally negligent conduct with the crime of criminally negligent homicide.
All right, Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your insight and your time.
Thank you.